as promised, we're jumping straight into Chapter 2. As you can see, Kuro hasn't quite surpassed the NPC supports yet, but she's rapidly gaining. Since this early section isn't too difficult, I'd like to take a moment to talk about breakpoints. You may have heard them called something else, but the general idea behind breakpoints is that not every point of health or attack is equal. The enemies at the beginning of Chapter 2 have over 3 times as much health as those at the end of Chapter 1, but they aren't any more dangerous because Kuro can still kill them in one hit. However, if their stats were to increase even slightly more, this would put them outside of one-shot range, effectively doubling their durability. In this way, increases to attack or health that don't change the number of hits required to kill are functionally meaningless. This explains why we're still facing minimal resistance despite the large stat increase, as the enemy hasn't passed an HP breakpoint yet. However, even now cracks are starting to show, so once we encounter some slightly stronger enemies later in the chapter, things are going to heat up fast. Bosses and mini-bosses are less affected by breakpoints, as each individual hit comprises a much smaller percentage of their overall health pool. Speaking of mini-bosses, after trouncing a grouchy Rena, we have a short team up with Kaede and find our attacks coming up an inch short. Run face first into the padlocked Uwasa, and as predicted, they won't go down easy. Still, we pull through. We team up with Rena next, and commiserate over the ineffectiveness of single-target Magia against familiars. Kaede then makes the rookie mistake of apologizing to Rena for their previous fight, resulting in her being kidnapped and brainwashed by a sentient staircase. It makes sense in context.
行くわよ。いっけはっとどめ。売られた喧嘩は買うでしょ。This is personal. 今ならコナン聞いて。ごめんなさい。
After freeing Kaede, we take on the staircase itself and easily, oops. In order to defeat this terrible fiend, we will need to draw on an ancient technique, long forgotten by the modern doppel-spamming meta, a powerful primordial skill known only as...
Connect!
Yeah, we're just gonna connect with Momoko before attacking it. After easily clearing, we just have one more fight and... Oh. Okay, come on, don't act surprised. I literally showed you this clip in 2 of the last 3 videos. This does present a problem, though. Remember how I said breakpoints are less important on bosses? Well, that's only half true. For early bosses, our strategy is to save up Magia and knock it out in one hit. This worked fine at first, but the second fight against the staircase has more than double the HP of Chapter 1's boss, and just enough extra compared to the first staircase fight that we can no longer one-shot it. A lot of chapter bosses have multiple fights, so we'll usually only focus our attention on the hardest one. Since Connect doesn't quite cut it, we'll need another way to squeeze out extra damage, and the simplest solution is... Charge. Momoko's Connect boosts charge damage, and she is a premier member of the Chargius, so this simple strategy should be more than enough to carry us through. Well, that much charge turned out to be overkill, but hey, we made Momoko proud. And with that, we finally caught up to what this account has cleared, claiming 1 upgrade for an Uwasa boss and 1 for the chapter clear. Speaking of which, it's about time we cash some of those in. Wow, look at that. 1% defense. That's like 0.1% of her max HP and damage reduction. I'm sure that'll do something! We're also authorizing Kuro to use 1-star memoria. We apparently don't actually own any, so we'll have to equip one later. Now, you might think this episode is over, but there's one last thing for us to do. Kuro's personal story. The difficulty of her first episode is the same as Chapter 2, so now is the perfect time to do it. Now, most people think that Kuro's quests don't have any story attached to them, but the truth is... no, yeah, they don't. They're not very hard either. See, I was thinking of putting one of those custom cutscenes like from the Battle Museum video in there, but you have to run the JSONs for those through the game, and it shut down, so... maybe next time. We take one more coin for completing the personal stories, thus establishing our 3 sources of upgrades. I'm sure we won't have to cash in any of these early out of sheer desperation! Bye-bye!